Hi, welcome to Framework. I am Al Schwartz. With me, as always, is John Bernard.
Hey, Al. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you. We are going to continue our sort of revisiting the director series we've done to talk about their imitators and influences. And we are up to James Cameron in our Cameron-arama. And we were discussing if he had an intro style that we could have imitated somehow. The only one that I can come up with is sort of with his sci-fi stuff. A lot of times there's an opening crawl, sort of Chiron, telling you what year you're in, what part of the solar system you might be in. For this, our number one Cameron imitator we talked about was Michael Bay, which led me to watch the first Transformers movie for the first time ever today, 20 odd years after it came out, which I found to have a hilarious opening Chiron.
Yeah?
Yeah, it starts off by saying it's in Qatar dash the Middle East dash present day, which I'm like, really? I don't need two of those qualifiers. Probably not the third. I think from context, I could tell this is the desert in roughly the present day.
That's a Naked Gun joke.
Yeah, really. It was a straight-faced Naked Gun joke. Later, they cut to an aircraft carrier, and the Chiron says, somewhere over the Atlantic. Like, oh, thanks for that. The guys coming back from the Middle East are on a boat now over the Atlantic. Well, very helpful, Michael Bay.
Yeah, that's a bad film. We're going to talk about that one and many other films inspired by Michael Bay. Already screwing up. By James Cameron, including the films of Michael Bay in all probability. Now, we've talked about like Tarantino, Fincher, Nolan. For these, those are. They have varying levels of a distinctive voice, but they've got landmark films. How do you parse the influence that James Cameron has had? I mean, it's like trying to the influence of Star Wars. It is
yes,
so
to a
big
large degree.
It's everywhere. It's how many times have you seen a scene from Aliens in a different movie? Hundreds?
Probably, pushing 1,000 if we include in video games.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Absolutely. So I was a little nervous about this one, honestly. Just the parsing of it. Like it's such a bone deep influence in most cases. That
action blockbuster filmmaking.
Yep.
That's his. Okay. But in terms of what are his more specific peccadillos? Grounded sci-fi. It's gonna be sci-fi with more bullets than lasers. And not necessarily laser swords, not fantasy inflected. I'm not saying that the time travel of the Terminator is plausible, but the weaponry is going to be, louder and chunkier. And that comes with the sort of the military porn aspect of it, that there's military hardware that's going to be shown off and blasting things.
This is, I think, a big thing that we can point to, the way he uses the military and the way people have run with that, right? I mean, Aliens, I guess, would be ground zero for cool Marines in movies in a lot of ways. Like the action movie Marines, certainly in the context of a sci-fi action film, which, I mean, that's mostly what we're going to be talking about here. Science fiction action movies, because he perfected them in a way. It's hard to see a sci-fi action movie these days that is not somewhat influenced
indebted
by Terminator and Aliens specifically, but all of it really. Those are his bones. That's what he did. So the military porn aspect. I mean, we're going to talk about Michael Bay a lot, as indicated, and he took that and ran with it in a big way. But it's not just him. This is and I think that sort of as a corollary to that is sort of blue collar characters, relatable populist characters. That I mean, I think when we were discussing this, I described them as right wing, but that's not exactly correct.
No, it's blue collar.
Yeah,
and Cameron is sort of as far as the militarism goes, and his general thematics, he is kind of a relic of a different political era, and so I think that's what's striking. And why, let's just stick with the military for a bit. with Michael Bay being his most prominent imitator, I also watched the Peter Berg Battleship movie, which is
Oh yeah.
as bad as everybody said it was, and as much of a Michael Bay thing as it is a Cameron thing. But that their approach to the military is different now, and I think it reflects Cameron's politics were formed in a Vietnam era, not in a post 9/11 era, much less whatever the fuck we are in today, and because of that, there is a skepticism of the military, even as the hardware is sort of almost fetishized, that is not present in the Transformers movies, and oh my god, Battleship are there to fillet the military as an institution and the members of it as selfless, righteous heroes in all aspects. And like again, coming out of the Vietnam era, Cameron has deep skepticism of their mission, at least. Even if he has some respect for the men on the ground.
The men themselves, I think he's all about. The mission maybe less so. I think that makes some sense to me. I mean, we say right wing here, or I said right wing, kind of like that's not quite right, and it's not quite right because his politics are so blatantly leftist in many ways, involving climate change and the environment and sort of nuclear war proliferation. I mean, he's from the Reagan era. Really was what it is. Post Vietnam, but the Rambo movies are coming out at the same time here. We're making a concerted effort to glorify the military on film in the 1980s.
Yes.
And he's doing that, but he's doing it by way of the characters themselves. I don't know. I mean, I guess the military is the bad guys in the abyss explicitly.
Yeah, and the other thing, I guess, is that his ultimate villains in Aliens and the Avatar movies, between Paul Reiser and Giovanni Ribisi, are these corporate interlopers that are interfering, sort of,
right,
giving the military bad orders and bad missions and that's part of the problem, is that they're taking orders from the private sector there. The Abyss is a little different in that regard. But I mean, it's still not necessarily that the military is evil. It's the enemy is deep sea madness.
Well, I mean, there is a runner about warmongers are bringing about the end of the world in the Abyss. By disrespecting the environment, but also there's a Cuban Missile Crisis thing going on, and the Terminator films are very much about we blew ourselves up because of our military policies, intentions, ways we behave. So that's definitely there. Again, he's a left-wing guy in a lot of respects, which is, so I don't know. We got off on left and right immediately. I'm sorry.
No, I think
that's not what people think about when James Cameron comes up, but
right. But I do think his imitators boil things down and simplify it into a thing that is more straightforwardly jingoistic. And you're talking about the Transformers movies, at least the two that I've seen, and throw Battleship in there too, because it's an honorary Transformers movie. Those have no skepticism of the military, and if their point of view is that the only problem is that civilians are holding the military back from kicking as much ass as God has granted them the right to do. And that is not Cameron's perspective whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, those movies are made with the full cooperation of the United States. I think that's literally true, right? I mean, we're
oh, absolutely. Battleship is branded content for the U.S. Navy. It's let's show over there. I did not see that movie when it came out until this last week, and I'd heard it was terrible, but I don't know why. I went into it I thought it looked pretty good. So the ways that this imitates Cameron, or is in his wheelhouse, it's military porn out the wazoo. It is near future sci-fi. That's Cameron. Right. It is on the water. It's a very, very wet action movie. That's Cameron's catnip. And I think I'm watching this movie for the first half of the movie or so, and I think this looks better than Avatar in the effects department. Like in a trailer form, it looked pretty. It looked fine. Like, oh, there's going to be some military action here, military blasting aliens. I could dig that. You're gonna throw me a Skarsgård and Jesse Plemons in there, like, and a Liam Neeson. Sure, why not? I don't mind looking at Rihanna. It feels like it could have been fine. I thought I was like, okay, people are dogging on this because it's based on a board game, but also actually at the time I was thinking to myself, board games have the best record of any adaptation I can think of, because the only one I know of is Clue, and that Clue is a great movie.
Yep. Yeah, Clue is a great film. I feel like there's another couple that are okay too that are escaping my thoughts right now. But
Jumanji, if that counts, I don't like.
I don't think that grace extends to Battleship though.
No, I mean, well, the other thing, I guess I would limit. This is not a board game, but also came out after Pirates of the Caribbean, which I thought, is based on a theme park ride and made a very entertaining blockbuster out of it. And I think that's kind of proof of concept that when your IP is that flimsy,
right?
It's like almost like an original concept. It doesn't it's not that restrictive or whatever. The problem with Battleship is not that it's too tied to the Milton Bradley or Hasbro's IP that they won't let them do things for. It's that it is a commercial for the Navy, and that is what sinks it, to use a pun. Because, man, it's not just that they're humping, the concept of service and the heroes in the Navy or whatever. They are casting actual Navy veterans, non-actors, to play roles in this movie and deliver lines, and they are terrible.
Right.
Like it.
It's well-intentioned is the idea, but it doesn't work. Eastwood made an entire film with that premise, which no one has seen. It's apparently dreadful.
The train hijacking one?
Yeah.
Okay.
The 1517 to Paris.
Right.
Starring the actual guys who were on the train.
Yeah.
I got to watch that
That's
someday.
like a couple of...
fascinating, but it's supposed to be...
It sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. There's the most prominent of them is this double amputee guy who's, a real guy, who is in a subplot with our female lead, who is Brooklyn Decker, who is a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model.
She's bad in it. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Our other female lead, of course, is Rihanna, who is a hip hop star who looks like a swimsuit model. And neither of them have a ton of acting experience. None of them are doing great. But man, this guy, I'm sure he lost his limbs heroically, but cannot deliver a line. His character is so unlikable, even as written. He's performed really, really badly. And that's, I'm sorry. He looks better than... Late in the movie, there's a sequence where a bunch of 75-year-old World War II veterans who are actors get this strutting Michael, boarding the ship in Armageddon action movie entrance so they can help Taylor Kitsch press the USS Missouri into service. And it comes off like an I Think You Should Leave sketch. Specifically the Santa Claus acting one. These people clearly it's not their fault. They're not trained for this. They're trained to load those torpedoes.
I mean, is it tongue-in-cheek at all? It's not tongue-in-cheek. It's quite earnest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is a military porn thing that is like Top Gun, another Reagan era picture, and Maverick to some extent is an Air Force recruiting thing.
But much more competently executed than this, because they let professionals do this work.
You can do this well. You can make an advertisement for the military, and it can still be a good movie. You could even argue Cameron did that, even though he never explicitly did. In making the Space Marines so fucking cool in Aliens or what have you. It's or even Avatar, where they're the bad guys. They're still kind of cool in a sense, But yeah, I it's not a qualitative problem that it's military porn per se. None of these go as hard as 300 and being annoying and offensive to me. But
to me, Battleship's up there. It's just so transparent and clumsy about it.
It reminded me of that Kid Rock video that they used to play in theaters about the citizen soldier. Which is the same idea basically. It was a military recruiting commercial, literally, in that case.
Yeah. It was always a Three Doors Down commercial around me here, I thought. But I'm sure there was the Kid Rock version that I blocked from my memory.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Battleship is a very bad movie.
Yeah.
And even it has some of the aesthetics of Cameron are right there.
Very much.
That it's trying to ape. But I think some of the heart is missing there. So, like I said, the skepticism of the mission is one thing. Another thing that Cameron loves is a warrior woman, strong female protagonist. Put your quotes around strong if you want to, but he wants when they're kicking ass. Battleship, I guess, tries to do that with a Brooklyn Decker character. Hamstrung maybe by casting there or just a lack of conviction. I mean, they don't have a belief in Rihanna's acting ability. So even though she's in there, clearly supposed to be the Vasquez, they don't give her any like character. Like I think her longest line in the movie is 2 sentences strung together.
Right. When it comes to the legacy of the warrior woman from Cameron, this is tricky because the environment in which they're being released now is not nearly as hospitable. I think you could argue. And it seems like people are not as adept at doing it. Obviously there are outliers. There's Furiosas and stuff like that. Yeah. But for the most part, if it's not a Charlize Theron character, it would seem. Even that's no guarantee that you're getting something good. Just that. Yeah, people seem to respect her as an action star. Is all I'm saying.
Sure.
Yeah, I think you can't just put Brooklyn Decker and Rihanna into these roles and expect it to work out fine. You have to take the characters seriously and you have to be earnest. And I think this is the key that is going to separate all the wheat from the chaff when it comes to Cameron ripoffs is how earnest they are about it, how seriously they take it. Do you care about the characters? Does the filmmaker care about the characters? Because, talking about Michael Bay, he doesn't care about the characters in most cases. And the difference...
And he definitely doesn't care about the female characters.
Certainly. I watched Pearl Harbor for this exercise, and I got a whole thing on this, but that's a movie where he does not give a shit, and it's impossible for you to give a shit either. It is a really, really flagrantly cynical film, actually. It is calculating, and basically, it's one of the worst things I've ever seen for this podcast.
Wow. I skipped after I stepped on the Transformers bear trap because that's the one people say the first Transformers it's the good one, and I had seen the third one in theaters just because my curiosity was piqued. I'd seen them shooting it around town when I was here, and so I decided to go to the theater to watch them destroy Chicago for me. And it was awful, and so I never watched another one. And finally, I like, okay, this one's the one people say it's got some Spielberg vibes and it's good. No, awful, cynical, everything you just said.
Okay, let's fully get into Michael Bay then.
Yeah,
I think most of his movies are trying to be James Cameron films. Most of them.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the vast majority. And I think they're also the more he's trying to be James Cameron, the worse the film is generally. He's kind of. He's got the sci-fi action movie, that's a big part of the Michael Bay filmography. The spectacle, he is a fine technician. Like the way he captures images on film, I think is really distinctive and strong, and is why people like him. He photographs something really well, better than Snyder, which is the other guy who's that's kind of the big thing for. I like the way Michael Bay movies look. They look more tactile, more light in the camera. I love what I'm seeing most of the time. Until we get into the Transformers of it.
Yeah, there's a whole sidebar there about the design of the Transformers and how incoherent it makes everything visually. But the Bad Boys movies look incredible, I think, as action movies.
He's made movies I think are great. The Rock is great. That's a terrific action film. I don't see much Cameron in it, actually. There's some military stuff in there, but it's not really. It's mostly about James Bond and Nicolas Cage being very weird. The military stuff it's kind of, it's separate characters that's reserved for, including the villains. And it's fascinating because of that.
The Rock particularly, and maybe in the Bad Boys, they have Jerry Bruckheimer energy. And he's as much of a sort of a co-auteur of those. Mm-hmm. And then when Michael Bay gets, I guess, post-Armageddon, maybe.
Armageddon's the big one.
Sort of sole auteurship. That's when we get into what you're talking about.
Armageddon is when he really starts going Cameron. And I think it's also his best James Cameron movie, if you follow me. Because it's, it has sort of a low animal cunning to it, and it kind of works, even as, I've seen that movie so many damn times at this point. All its little embarrassing moments are kind of endearing to me now, so maybe I'm not as objective about that one. But I think he kind of nails it with the cast a little bit more than he usually does there. That actually feels like a group of Cameron characters, the Roughnecks. Yes. He's taking a lot of cues.
They're a lovable bunch of misfits, not unlike the Space Marines. Mm-hmm. And they're much more likable than, the Autobots.
That's the thing, man. After Armageddon, all these films become about shrieking assholes. Like
that's what Transformers is, man. Like all the humans are just they're so shrill.
Yeah, they're just awful company. And like you're running with Shia LaBeouf for 3 movies, and then you're like, okay, we're switching to Mark Wahlberg, and it's just like, oh, God, you're doing the exact same shit. You've seen 1 and 3. Those are the best ones, man. Those are the ones that are like not offensive.
They suck.
Yeah, they do, but they're not objectionable and like morally wrong and upsettingly bad and like also about 3 hours long. Like Rise of the Fallen and I forget the 4th one, whatever that one is. The first
I don't know. By the time they're in King Arthur's court, who knows? That could be the 6th.
Oh, that's just a stupid mess at that point. Yeah, I mean, I think they fight the Nazis, and that's kind of funny, but it is embarrassing as well. 2 and 4 though are on a level you can't even imagine how
yes, and 2 is notoriously one of the worst films ever made, and all that. I having only seen 1 and 3, I think they are really like morally objectionable. They are way too long, and like that. It's I haven't seen 3 since the theater, but I remember walking out of it going like being amazed because it'd been a while since I'd had any Michael Bay in my diet, and I was like, I really think that the hero's journey Shia LaBeouf was on there was that he had to learn to become a confident enough asshole to like scream at a bouncer until he lets him into the club.
Yeah.
The club is a secure military facility, but he has had to like find his mojo so he could yell, "Hey, I saved the world twice already, and you're a fucking nobody. Do you know who I am? Do you know who my father is? It's Kevin Dunn." But anyway, that's a 12-year-old take that it's kind of dusty, but
right.
Anyway.
I seem to remember, I haven't seen Transformers 1 since it came out. I remember that being closer to a Spielberg E.T. thing. Like, I mean, he is splitting the difference with Spielberg and Cameron in those films. It leans more Cameron as they go on, I suppose. That distinction we might want to swing back to as well. That's tough. But, he's doing like, it's a boy getting his first car. And that stuff doesn't fit well on him, I feel like. He doesn't have much actual interest in teenager shit beyond just like,
right.
Look how fucking hot this teenager is.
I guess that's teenage shit, sort of. I think you hit on something interesting there. Yes, the distinction between Cameron and Spielberg, I think, is that Spielberg is much more interested in childhood and children. And
characters, frankly.
Yes. Child characters. And Cameron is interested in children in as much as he's interested in, I guess, like motherhood as a concept. But the kids are not as, I guess John Connor's pretty center stage in Terminator 2.
He kind of nails it, right? That is like the best version of a Michael Bay character is John Connor. He's an obnoxious little smart-ass kid, and we all love him. Well, I don't know if we love him, but he doesn't bug anyone. Everyone's like pro John Connor.
Yeah, people will bitch about his voice cracking or whatever. But yeah, no, John Connor is the best child action hero I've ever gotten. And you can lodge your gripes with the Edward Furlong Complaint Bureau if you want, but John Connor comes off wonderful standing next to Sam Witwicky, who is just immensely unlikable. Like I gave Bay more credit for the sort of the low cunning you mentioned, being like the basic competence. And Shia in this movie, like he saves no cats. Right. His endearing first act moment that I guess is supposed to establish him as the underdog or whatever is that he's mouthing off to this jock, but he is essentially just a jock without the muscles. Like he has he's trying to steal Megan Fox from her asshole jock boyfriend, but he has no appreciation for her like her mind or her personality or whatever. He just thinks she's mega hot, which is all the jock thinks about her.
I mean, that's all the movie thinks about her, really. I mean,
yes.
Right? I mean,
it's all the camera thinks. Yeah. I mean,
she was famously, they fired her from those for making a Holocaust joke, if I recall. I think that, they kind of had no bones about it, that like, she's here because she's hot. We're not interested in character. He was pretty mercenary in that regard. And that's always been the case with those films. I mean, I don't know if anyone even tried to bullshit that. I had no idea what Megan's character in those films is named. But there was never even an attempt to pretend there was dimensionality to that.
No,
she probably has a couple Ripley moments where she like uses a shotgun to shoot at a Decepticon or something, and has a quip to go along with it. You know, the sort of superficial tough Cameron woman moment now and again. In
the first one, I don't think she even gets that. I think she just drives a car at one point. And she's driving a tow truck because Bumblebee's like injured, and she's towing him behind while he blasts machine gun, cannons from the back. I believe that's her action beat in it. I don't know. I could not stay engaged for like 40 minutes of that just whirring metal nothing action at the end.
It's really bad. Yeah.
So the shrieky assholeness of it. I mean, this has got a weird, huge, sprawling cast, which I guess is sort of a Cameron thing.
Yes.
But again, lacking the interest in the female characters. I mean, the only other female character in this really is a like top ranked NSA analyst who is played by a 19-year-old Australian model for some reason.
Sure. Okay.
Heavy Aussie accent, and she's in the American CIA. Whatever. Again, that would bother me less if everyone else wasn't a shrieking asshole. Bernie Mac is, and Anthony Anderson is, John Turturro is. The cop that Shia files a stolen car report with, who tries to get Shia to go for his gun and so he can shoot him in the police station. Like, what on earth is that character? The family's dog is kind of an asshole. Everybody who witnesses the Autobot asteroid striking is just a shrieking dipshit. One of the Ironhide wants to murder Shia for no reason as a joke. In their introduction, Bumblebee takes a robot piss on Turturro.
I remember that.
It's just these are the heroes that are just total assholes.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, this is the reason we all love Cameron movies, right? Well, there's a lot, but the characters they're kind of beloved. Like, you love every space marine. Hudson, who doesn't love Hudson in Aliens? Yeah. You could call the Michael Bay version of Hudson would be awful. It would be the most annoying guy.
I guess that's Shia in this, sort of.
I guess.
Who cares?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to see a Bill Paxton. You want to see a Bill Paxton in there. Right. And I guess that it's only by the hand of fate that he didn't end up in those movies in some context. It could have easily happened. Right. But I don't know. I guess he's building a stable much like Cameron did of Lance Henriksen's and people like that. You get your Steve Buscemi's and your Turturros and Stanley Tucci's popping their heads up in multiple films, playing similar roles, but it doesn't work as good because he's not as good of a filmmaker and he doesn't care about the characters. I guess. I'm mad at having watched Pearl Harbor, so I'm at a low ebb of respect for Michael Bay at this moment.
Okay. It seems to me almost, though, that not having watched Pearl Harbor, this is posed as a question to you, but it seems like Pearl Harbor on paper would be bringing together the sort of the two Cameron elements that Armageddon does one and Transformers does one. Armageddon is missing some of the military porn aspect of it. It's pretty militarized for a space mission, shuttle mission,
sure.
But
American ingenuity, sir.
It doesn't have Marines. There's no robots or aliens to
The
blast
president
with
has a speech.
shotguns. Right. But what Armageddon has, I think, that does make it feel a little Cameronish is a sort of big sappy romance.
It does.
And
yeah.
that is Cameron is big and sappy in a way that I think it leavens the military porn aspects of it. And Transformers has the aggressive military fetishism aspect, but the romance subplot there is so insincere and so paper thin and just not committed to it. And Pearl Harbor is a military romance on paper.
Yep.
Right? Like it's trying to bring some Titanic in even to its sort of doomed romance thing. All right.
It wants to be Titanic just a bit. Yeah. It really, really wants to be Titanic. That it is the most direct Titanic ripoff I think that exists.
And a big factor in why that didn't become a huge cottage industry.
Yeah, exactly. You can't just do those, just churn them out, and it doesn't work that way. It's a very revealing movie. Like I bet no one has watched this movie in the last 20 years or so. Outside the context of its initial release when it was just like, oh fuck this, boo. Everyone hated it immediately with reason.
Yeah, I mean the only people who watch it since then are like how did this get made in the Flophouse? And,
sure,
some of their listeners.
I mean, it is 3 hours plus. That's a problem. It is basically, it's trying to do a disaster movie with a lot of military fetishism, and it's a romance. It's a romantic triangle film between Ben Affleck and Kate Beckinsale, Josh Hartnett. Affleck and Hartnett, best friends, grew up together, joined the military because they wanted to fly planes, both fall in love with the same nurse. They think Affleck's dead, so Hartnett and Beckinsale move forward. He is, and he comes back. Oh, what do we do now? Pearl Harbor. That's what happens, So it's about an hour and a half before you get to Pearl Harbor, the attack. And it is the most boring goddamn movie. It is so tedious. It is such a frustration to get through it. I had to sit. It was 4 sittings. It ruined my week. It was so irritating and dull to get through because he doesn't care about any of these people. Like it is a nakedly calculating film. Like this is, I think I could win an Oscar. It was that moment in his career where he was having hits that were big enough that he could be James Cameron. I bet they can take me seriously. It can't be that hard, That's my Michael Bay voice apparently. But it is it's a very cynical movie. It is a list of ways to win an Oscar. It feels like made by somebody with no interest in those things, and no actual
a real Benjamin Button.
Yes. It actually did remind me of Benjamin Button, but even that movie is a little subversive. The thing we came out of that thinking was like, is he fucking around? Is this a satire of Oscar movies? This is plainly not. This is just a guy who demanding an Oscar and following a playbook, an established playbook, because it's also doing Saving Private Ryan stuff, except much worse at that. You would think he'd have something in with the camaraderie of the soldiers and the men, but it is being respectful. There's no shrieking assholes in Pearl Harbor. Nobody.
But those are the only humans that Michael Bay relates to.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody is just this cardboard cutout. They are one-dimensional characters. They don't have jokes. There's no comedy in Pearl Harbor.
That's rough because I think Armageddon, you kind of correctly diagnosed that it's the cast that saves that, is that it's cast so well with these people who are just inherently so likable and they have good chemistry with each other. And that overcomes some of Bay's more misanthropic instincts. And then Bad Boys also kind of saved by casting there in that Will Smith and Martin Lawrence as a duo are about as entertaining as you shrieking assholes as you can get.
Those guys happen to be good at shrieking assholes.
Yeah. Not everybody is, but he then goes on to cast 60 more shrieking assholes in the rest of his movies.
No, like the Bad Boys movies are actually, I mean, I don't really think of them as Cameron films per se. They're much more the Lethal Weapon, like a different 80s thing. But it does. It is sort of a case study in how to get good use of shrieking assholes, because you've also got Joe Pantoliano kind of nailing it to the wall. Really,
one of the best we've ever had at shrieking asshole.
Peter Stormare shows up, and there's a lot of things to enjoy. I'm not wild about those films, but I mean, I think they do. Those are the things he should be making.
Right.
Anything earnest. Anything where you have to actually care about what's going on, or anything where he wants you to cry, I think is a problem, And
but that's a Cameron movies are earnest. They're completely
very
Avatar, like extremely.
To a fault. And that is like the thing that he completely misses when he's just ripping Titanic off completely. Like it's a Titanic where he doesn't care about anybody on the boat. Essentially.
Yeah.
And the movie does wake up a little at the actual Pearl Harbor sequence, because he's a technician in that way. And, you're looking at impressive photography. I mean, if you recall the trailer for Pearl Harbor, you can watch that on YouTube. It is the best way to experience the movie because it's just images, it's just a squadron of Japanese biplanes flying past a team playing Little League on and that kind of is more powerful than anything else in the rest of the film. Just in the visual dynamic of it, there's an implication there because you're watching a Pearl Harbor thing. You're like, that has an effect. That's it. That's as deep as it gets, though.
Well, it's like you were saying. He's good at making images.
Yep.
And so when it's purely the images and the action there, that's going to be the best that movie probably gets. I would say this is what destroys the Transformers movie for me as well.
Well, shit. Yeah, they look awful.
The Transformers, they're animated immaculately.
Right.
But the design of them is just visual noise. And so when they're in action, which is supposed to be the highlights of these movies, and really the only reason anybody's here, I can't tell what the fuck is going on or which clump of whirling gears covered in explosions is the good clump of gears covered in explosions and which is the bad clump of gears covered in explosions. And that's sort of like, there's an as above, so below thing there too, because on a writing level, it's impossible to tell the Autobots and Decepticons apart visually, but it's also difficult to tell them like heroes and villains apart morally because the Autobots are such abrasive dicks also.
Yeah, that's a weird choice. I mean, you would think, the way to present these Saturday morning cartoon characters, would be in kind of like highlight colors, it'd be like ultimate good and ultimate evil would make sense for this source material, that they would be kind or something. But no, they're like, it's opposite sides of like a decades long war. And they're, I don't know, trying to take that seriously or is it just that he likes shrieking assholes? So the robots are all shrieking assholes too.
He thinks he wants to make them cool. And so they have to be kind of like pricks and bullies. That's what he thinks is cool.
That's exactly it. Yes. Mm-hmm.
But how that manifests visually too is that primary colors. Optimus Prime is famous for having blue and like neon flames on, and yet the way these designed is that all the good guys and the bad guys are clumps of silver and gray metal. And you just can't, from a still picture, I can't tell them apart. I mentioned the name Ironhide earlier. I don't even know which one he was.
Yeah, you said that, and I just glossed over. I was like, oh, he must be one of the robots. Yeah.
When he said, when he pointed a cannon at Shia LaBeouf and said, should we just murder him, boss? And I was trying to say, no, Ironhide. That's how I know that it was him who tried to murder him. But he didn't look visually different from Jazz.
Right. Is that the black one who dies first? I do remember that. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Name Jazz. That's awesome. Well done. Well done, Transformers.
And the villains also look identical. So it's just it's a kind of, it's amazing how much effort went into doing those action sequences, and yet it's all completely hamstrung by the designs, making it visually incoherent.
Okay, so
Cameron would never that would never be a problem for him. The T-1000 is visually different than the T-800, and the Na'vi, for all I hate them, are very visually distinct from their enemies.
Not from each other, though, which is a problem.
No, that is a problem. You can listen to our Avatar episodes to hear me rant about that for 45 minutes anytime you like.
New one coming, man. Fire and Ash, not far.
Oh, fuck, you reminded me of that. Okay. What are we at there? Like 2 hours 52? Something.
It's going to be like that, yeah. Uh-huh. It's such a bummer. Oh. Are those movies better than Michael Bay? They are, right? Ultimately, the Avatar films, they're a cut above just on the filmmaking alone, right?
I don't even know if it's the filmmaking, but at least I don't hate the heroes.
No, they're just boring.
I mean, right? I jokingly say that I do because I don't like their design so much, but
no, Jake Sully's he's a fine guy. He's not an asshole at all.
Yes, and there, like I said, less visually incoherent than a Transformers movie, so I'll give him that.
Let's circle back to the Avatar. That's a whole thing later. I want to keep going on the sci-fi blockbuster here.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So the final, that what Bay and Transformers specifically has is the militarism, but not the sappy heart that comes with Cameron. His Cameron movies have moral clarity, almost or sometimes to a fault. The heroism of the heroes is clear. The villainy of the villains is crystal clear. And that is where I think the Bay stuff falls down. Mm-hmm. You want to get into some good versions of Cameron ripoffs that might do that stuff better.
Yes, and they exist. They would have to, because, this is so bone deep in the genre, that somebody's got to take the lessons and use them correctly. I mean, I think you could make an argument that almost any good sci-fi action movie from 1990s on, or even before, has a bit of a debt to James Cameron. Yep. Anything after T2, for sure. But even something like Predator, Chris Prentice, or, one of our favorite guests, mentioned that as a Cameron-esque film. And I was like, I have never thought of it that way, because it's always had its own identity in my mind. But I mean, if you break it down, it's kind of just doing James Cameron stuff. I might be a little early to place it as, as an antecedent of him, but I mean, for Schwarzenegger's right there. The militarism is right there. The camaraderie between brothers and the violence and the cool design stuff. It's all right there. Yeah.
But there's no female character with any sort of agency or definition.
That's for damn sure.
And there's no sappy heart. There's not even really skepticism of I guess
there is some.
The rap on Dylan is that he has sort of gone corporate
Dylan's gone corporate, and he leads them into the meat grinder. There's the fact that there are these big giant guys getting dispatched of. That's a bit of a commentary thing. There's a little bit
that recalls Aliens to a degree. What always defined Predator for me was how it sort of fainted at being a Cameron movie and then pivots into being a slasher movie.
Right.
And so I almost think of it more I put it more in the horror section than the action section to a degree. But that if I had seen it first 2 or 3 years later, where I was no longer afraid of the Predator, that would probably be reversed.
Even still, that's not quite the thing, because it's so early. It definitely has the hallmarks, but no, we're talking about other stuff.
Let me ask you this: do you consider Independence Day a Cameron riff?
I was thinking about this. I mean, it's so clearly a disaster movie, and it predates Titanic, Cameron's disaster movie.
Right. I think that's why I didn't put it in that bucket necessarily.
But there's obviously stuff in there that's James Cameron, There's definitely things that come from T2 in that movie, or Aliens, or just in the way it has its characters, in the way it presents its science, such as it is. It's populist as well. It wants you to stand up and cheer at moments like that, and Cameron was kind of the guy who was good at that. It is
the Randy Quaid character is kind of blue collar hero in a way that feels like it could fit in a Cameron movie.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the panoply of characters from different places, kind of coming together, that feels inspired by Cameron. In a way I can't really quantify, because it's, not really a thing he does, but
his guys, the oil guys on the rig guys on the Abyss and the Marines, they're there for a common purpose.
United by a common purpose. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Independence Day, I guess the global disaster movie, Roland Emmerich, I guess, is his own thing.
Sure. I mean, I don't think of Roland Emmerich the way I do Michael Bay, for example.
Right. Even though I'm sure Roland Emmerich is trying to incorporate some Titanic into his disaster scenarios after that, going forward.
Roland Emmerich tried to make a Hindenburg movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. A romance set on the Hindenburg.
That just, it sounds like a BoJack Horseman
It
gag.
does.
But anyway, okay. So one of the good two that I rewatched this week were District 9 and Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, Edge of Tomorrow,
also,
man. I watched that one too. District 9 I've seen plenty of times.
I would throw Pacific Rim in here as well, which I didn't rewatch this week. I was a little cooler on that than a lot of our sort of movie geek brethren. Are you a big Pacific Rim fan?
I'm a bit warmer on it than most, I think.
Okay.
I don't think it's great, but I like it a lot. Yeah.
That is futuristic military machinery, and they're very, very wet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is. I think it's the Del Toro attempt to do a Cameron movie, which is not necessarily his bailiwick. I think he's a really good filmmaker, in my opinion, and as such, does a pretty good job with it, though. And
he's a really good filmmaker with his whole own house style.
Oh, yeah.
We could do an episode on Guillermo del Toro, like ripoffs, probably. I mean, I don't know that it's not as lucrative of a lane as Cameron ripoffs, so there may not be as many examples. But we could do a Guillermo del Toro bingo card and fill it out easier than we could our James Cameron bingo card.
Absolutely, yes. But I think Pacific Rim actually is the outlier for him. I think that is an attempt to do something a little more commercial, a little more four-quadrant and wide appeal in the James Cameron vein, which is not necessarily his thing. And I think that you can see that in the film. But, he's a good filmmaker, and he certainly loves monsters and robots and shit, and all that comes out really clear. There's the earnestness that we were talking about.
Yes,
like even
there's a sappiness to
the characters that I don't even care much about in that movie work better because he cares about them. I don't care about the Charlie Hunnam stuff. He does though.
No, but the Charlie Hunnam brother backstory stuff is like kind of similar to the setup for Avatar, and the Idris Elba character could be straight out of a Cameron movie.
Yeah, very much so. I do care a lot about Idris Elba.
I think the problem with Del Toro fully pulling this off, I think, is that it's the one movie of his where the monsters are actually the bad guys.
It is, and that is notable.
He resists that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he has the Charlie Day character who kind of loves and empathizes with them, but is still on the side of the humans, and that's the closest you get. But yeah, that it is also weird in his career because it's literally the only one where the monsters are actually bad.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
guess the monsters in Blade 2 are bad, I suppose.
Right, but Blade is sort of a monster himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know, but Mimic, did he do that one?
He did do that one. Yeah, those are pretty bad. But I mean, they're just bugs. They don't really have a morality to them. But yeah, they're not good. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, okay. So Pacific Rim and Blade and Mimic are his studio pictures.
That's true.
Sort of for higher things. When he gets the reins himself, the monsters are always, misunderstood good guys and just excellent lays.
Always. Oh man.
Anyway,
I think the Jacob Elordi Frankenstein's going to get some. I think so. I think he's going to.
Oh yeah.
Some five. Yeah.
He's going to get it wet. Okay. So how would you rank these if we were going in for Cameron, or as general movies, or as Cameron ripoffs between Pacific Rim, Edge of Tomorrow, and District 9?
I think they're all like real good. I think they're all, I'd call them all about 4 out of 5 star movies. like B+, A-, somewhere in that range. They're all real solid, real fun. I don't think any of them reach Cameron at his best, but they are the ones maybe that are the most Cameron-esque. The most explicitly Cameron-esque that I could think of. Edge of Tomorrow is, I mean, it is just Cameron playbook, top to bottom.
I'll go Pacific Rim 3, Edge of Tomorrow 4, and District 9 4.5 stars for those movies. I think District 9's great. Edge of Tomorrow, that one I hadn't seen since the theaters.
Same.
It's got the sort of, both Edge of Tomorrow and District 9 have the corporate flunky become the action hero. Right. They start off in kind of villainous, but it'd be like if Paul Reiser or Giovanni Ribisi became, Ripley's partner. To it. That would be unusual.
That is something he doesn't do, Cameron, I suppose. But those characters are there. You know, you can see the inspiration of those characters in Cameron. I love how that's done in Edge of Tomorrow. God, it is one of the best Tom Cruise roles ever, I think. One of the best examples of what he can do as a movie star that like no one else can do without doing the thing where he's just what a rascal. We all love him. What an incredible man. It's not doing that. He's playing a character that has to earn his successes in a way he usually doesn't, you know, and as such, he becomes maybe one of the most endearing of the whole career. I think it's a great script for him, a great character for him. And it's also, he has an incredible screen partner, and my favorite Emily Blunt performance, man, as Femshep, basically.
Yes.
The perfect.
But Femshep is in the lineage with Ripley and Sarah Connor 100%. And Furiosa, like we mentioned earlier, and Rita Veransky even. Edge of Tomorrow is a weird way because that is really beloved by our cohort. And like I said, I give it 4 out of 5, not 5 out of 5. I've never been able to fully place what.
I think I know. I think I know what's wrong with Edge of Tomorrow. It does not have the visual style of a James Cameron film.
The action looks pretty good.
It does. It's not bad. The design is not good. I mean, the monsters are...
The alien design is really uninspired.
It's uninspired. And it's not that it's bad. Again, it's just, you know, they don't look like the fucking aliens in Alien. You know, like there's... If those had iconic beasts at the center of it, I think that would make a big difference. But also the filmmaking itself. I mean, it's, again, serviceable. James Cameron movies are more than serviceable when it comes to action. You know?
True.
The lighting is kind of flat. There's the CGI is not particularly well used. I wish the movie was better visually. That's like my only complaint about it. And I think
that's true. When I call it up mentally, it is kind of a gray wash in terms of a color palette. And you're definitely right. The alien designs, it's just the squiddies from the Matrix without the robotic aspect to them. I kind of like the way they move.
I don't think it's a botch.
Sharply and suddenly.
They don't ruin the movie or anything. They're you know, you look at them like, you know, okay. You know, but you never want to see those things again, per se. There's nothing really visually interesting about them. And I mean, and like we're giving Cameron a lot of credit for H.R. Geiger's design there. You know, he inherited those too. But the Queen, that was an innovation he put on there. Certainly, and it's not just design though. It's the way that they're shot and the way that the action sequences are composed. Which, you know, Cameron's very good at that. He's one of the best. If Cameron directed that scene, you know, and it is kind of it's a bit of a filmmaking challenge because it's one action scene done many times over. For the most part.
Indeed.
You know, it's variations on the same action scene. That's tough. I bet James Cameron probably would have nailed that. You know, I think that would be some amazing stuff you'd see in there. And as it is, it's mostly just functional. Now, it's in service of a really good, really intelligent script. Probably the best version of a Groundhog Day clone. With, again, 2 fantastic lead actors. I think it's got some really strong support work too. It's the last great work of Bill Paxton's career. Brendan Gleeson's in there. It's Paxton being on hand, by the way, doesn't hurt. Make it feel like James Cameron. It's the best Doug Liman film, I believe.
You know, we also Doug Liman getting some heat in this series because we also praised Go quite a bit in the Tarantino one. I don't know if
as a journeyman. He's kind of just like, I can do a Cameron, I can do a Tarantino. That's kind of cool.
And he started the Bourne franchise, right? Like,
yes, he did.
Even though he's not considered the auteur of that franchise, he's in probably 4th place after Greengrass and Gilroy and Damon.
Right,
but
I mean, I guess that is the thing that kind of separates him from these guys that we're talking about. He's always kind of going to be the guy who does a really good facsimile of the thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. But, you know, I don't know. I don't know. We probably won't do a series on Doug Liman films.
No, and I think you're right. The script and the 2 lead performances are really the heroes of Edge of Tomorrow. Yeah. And I'm not here to denigrate the work that Paxton or Gleeson are putting in there, but I feel a lack of supporting characters there. And a little bit of that is difficulty structurally with the Groundhog Day thing of developing more than two characters.
Well, he's got that squad. They don't really stick out as much as they might, I suppose. Squad.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like in Groundhog Day, I feel like I get a better sense of like sketched in side characters than I do with J Squad.
Well, I mean, I don't think
it's that stands out in a Cameron comparison too.
Groundhog Day.
But if we're going to compare them to the Marines, yes. Compared to Groundhog Day is not fair. Also, comparing us back to Space Marines to the alien Space Marines is not going to be fair either.
They come out pretty well in both comparisons, though. You know, they're not quite at the level, but we're saying it's one of the closest things you're going to get to that. You know, when it is as explicitly inspired by.
Yeah. I think for me that what keeps Edge of Tomorrow off the very top shelf of sci-fi action for me is that the script conceit is so difficult that just pulling that off and making it coherent does not leave a lot of room for it to be for other layers of, you know, being like real thematics going on here, or relationships that go beyond that top pairing. And even that is a good relationship that sort of puts one foot into romance at the end. And then I guess it's a romance. Cameron would, I feel like, committed to the romance harder and sappier. Yeah. And even that I'm torn on, because I'm like, I kind of like them holding back from being like, these are one true love soulmates. It's almost like there's room for it. And maybe this is working off Cruise's sort of movie star persona. And you've identified previously that there's a difficulty with him portraying sexuality on screen. But there is some room to like, these are not necessarily soulmates, but this is just, he imprints really hard on this one person who like is kind of with him on this journey. And also, how could you not, be pretty besotted with Emily Blunt in this movie?
Yeah, man. Emily Blunt has had, in many ways, I think, kind of a disappointing career. Not that she's like bad, but it seems like she's always missed out on the big thing, or ended up in the version of something that didn't work when it should have, famously supposed to be Black Widow and wasn't. God, she would have been perfect for that, But this is like, this is when it all comes together. I think this is her doing everything that she's so capable of, She doesn't have to make the fall guy. She can be like the actual star of something, and be effective. And it is 100%, that tough ass Cameron woman. Maybe the best version of that outside of Cameron.
Yeah. Well, Furiosa, like you mentioned.
Sure. But this one feels a lot like a James Cameron lady. Like, again, it's
I think she probably, built her like arm sculpting routine off Linda Hamilton's before Terminator 2.
Right.
But yeah, it's a really good movie. I just think that when it ends, there's none of Aliens has the vague Vietnam overtones to it, and the sort of twinning motherhood parallels that are all kind of vague. They're not, but they give it a little bit more depth to me than Edge of Tomorrow has. Edge of Tomorrow is about has a much more difficult plot not to resolve.
Right.
And having done that, it calls it a day, and there's not a lot else going on. This sort of, I guess, was my wrap on that.
I agree. I almost think that's a positive, though. Because I kind of like the under 2 hour action movie, that James Cameron doesn't really make anymore. I kind of like, something that is a bit smaller in scale and scope. It is more of a contained thing that's telling its story really well and getting the fuck out,
Well, and that even, goes by saying about underplaying the romance.
Yeah, exactly.
Of it could be spun as a positive. But I kind of want one or the other thing to be in there. 25
minutes longer. The character relationships would be deeper. There'd be three more characters that pop a little in the background, and I think that I feel that the stakes would be raised even more in the final 20 minutes when he loses his time power. That's kind of just a formality in the final film, but I feel like that should have been, at least in the scripting stage. That is like. That should be a massive moment, and it kind of just like, one more action scene, I guess.
And when when she is killed in the final action sequence there, I mean, you would have had a full blown, Ed Harris in the Abyss.
Yeah, exactly.
Set of histrionics over.
Exactly.
And
I don't know that necessarily. I mean, if James Cameron's making the film, maybe he pulls it off. I don't know that the Doug Liman way, is necessarily a better version. I think that he might have made the best Doug Liman film.
Yeah, I don't think that's the thing too. The I don't know, the Bourne movie, the first one kind of goes there with the romance a bit, but even that doesn't. Or I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen the Bourne Identity, but I kind of remember that one being one where they don't commit super hard to, these are soulmates. This is a Jack and Rose style love for the ages.
No, it's not a romance. Quite that way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my advocacy is not for Doug Liman to have done more Cameron stuff in this. Actually, it's hard comparing that in this context, especially.
Mm-hmm.
That's what highlights for me. District 9, I feel like it's got a lot of the Cameron heart. There is not really a romance element to it. It does kind of end on a weird romantic note, but the wife character that he loses throughout the movie and is pining for at the end is not a really involved character.
That's not where the humanism of that film comes in for me, if I recall. It's just in seeing the humanity of the what do they call them? The
prawns.
The prawns, yeah. I don't know if humanity is even the right word, but just the empathy for these creatures is kind of what grows over the course of the film. I mean, honestly, we're almost there already as an audience members. As soon as the little kid one shows up, it's a hell of a film, man. And it looks nothing like James Cameron movies, but it's definitely doing the thing. It's definitely taking inspiration from that. I guess it's more political than he goes usually.
I don't know that it's. I mean, I think he's fine being political. I
guess he is. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
District 9's politics feel a little more connected to our present moment than Cameron's politics, which are Cold War politics. Or
right. The Abyss is explicitly political and Cold War-ish. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But for me, like this,
there's nuclear proliferation stuff. There's economic concerns. Yeah, there's tons. I'm sorry.
Yeah. For me, District 9 has the world building that Cameron brings to the sort of near future sci-fi. It's got pretty judicious use of CGI alongside more like tactile physical effects, which is something Cameron is good at until Avatar. That we talked about the corporate interests being the ultimate evil. But I even like the first act of District 9 being this like mockumentary presentation. I think that owes something to Aliens, like doing the first person like helmet cam
interesting
stuff.
Okay, yeah. I mean, there's a whole genre of that comes later, but Aliens?
Well, they're bringing it.
That's been done, but it is so distinct.
I mean, the first time I was exposed to it.
Right. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so when they're going into like the alien environment with the cameras over their shoulder, they're kind of aware of the cameras and talking to home base or whoever at the audience.
I mean, it's so incredibly memorable that the screens going out one by one on the big screen, with their names under it. Yeah, it's been done. I mean, that's right up there with like the fucking trench run from Star Wars and things you've seen replicated over and over.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I bet Pearl Harbor has 3 trench runs.
Yeah, it does.
Anyway, so I think that's my favorite of these ones we've talked about. Though I hadn't seen it since the theater, but it held up this week, I thought. And
yeah, that one stands on its own. It's weird that Neil Blomkamp turned out not to be good at making movies or something after that. Like I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Either with District 9 or the rest of his career, because like what the fuck?
He did Elysium after that. Which was a very I mean, again, more mech suits. It felt like a Cameronish sci-fi environment, and like in line with District 9. Yeah, that was even more political in its sort of economic messaging. That was just I think people really kind of hated that one. I thought it was fine, but a real letdown to District 9.
Right.
I did not check out Chappie for this.
No, I've never had the bravery,
but. Yeah, we burned our bad movies. After Battleship, I was kind of done exploring the bad ones, and obviously Pearl Harbor took it all out of you.
That really took the wind out of me. Yeah, that was a rough one. Boy. Yeah. So I don't know what happened to him. He's making like direct-to-video actresses in movies now. I would love for him to. Well, I don't know. I always just kind of blame Peter Jackson. I was just like, I bet Peter Jackson had more of a hand in that than I realized. It's kind of how I've had to justify it after the fact. But maybe that's not fair. I don't know. It's just what you see. You see his name attached and like, well, Neil Blomkamp hasn't made a good movie since, really, so must be him. And that, yeah, probably not fair at all.
Yeah.
Is Peter Jackson do Cameron stuff at all? I mean,
well, okay, let's get to that one more stopover before I address that, which is I think we have to talk briefly about Catherine Bigelow.
Of course.
Former, were they married? I now forget.
They were married.
Just together.
They were married.
Okay. They were one of Cameron's warrior women ex-wives. And she, I wouldn't call her stuff, I mean, other than like Strange Days, which they made together, to be like really a ripoff of Cameron or an imitation as direct as any of the stuff we've talked about before. But she is a good militaristic filmmaker. She's good at presenting military stuff on screen, and
in a very different way than Cameron, though. Like a very different, like Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30. Those don't feel like Cameron movies, even as they are about the military and the camaraderie of men within it. But yeah, she is. Yeah, she's more interested in the real world and grounding it in, I guess, reality of soldiers' lives rather than Cameron wants to tell big sweeping stories, right? With a lot of just cool. He likes gadgets and hardware, and obviously submarines most of all, but machine guns go along. She did make K-19 The Widowmaker, but I couldn't tell you anything about that movie. I have seen it, but I don't know. I don't remember a thing about it. Yeah. I can tell you Point Break is legitimately like an action masterpiece, but I don't know that it is indebted to Cameron very much. No, I don't see a lot of Cameron in that film. But, I mean, yeah, Strange Days is obviously the most Cameron-esque because he wrote it. So, that doesn't really count for our purposes. Good film, though. Something I've been meaning to revisit recently. So the last thing that we kind of talk about with these is trying to identify, when people are imitating thing or identifying this, it's usually about the aesthetics of the filmmaking or maybe some like really loud screenwriting techniques. But what if, you're talking about just their more subterranean thematic interests, like who's actually working in the same, like, I don't know, emotional valence as them and not just at the surface level. And I actually think both Edge of Tomorrow and District 9 can kind of qualify on a thematic as well as a aesthetic level. Certainly. But for people who are doing a different aesthetic but have some Cameron in their veins, I was going to say the Lord of the Rings movies strike me, like you were talking about Peter Jackson. That is medieval militarism rather than science fiction militarism, but he is bringing a sort of, an interest in grounding the sword and sorcery stuff in, some more realistic, I mean, not super realistic, but tactile armor and clanking and, more realistic than a Warcraft movie. Well, it's a fantasy version of the sci-fi action. It's the fantasy action film. Exactly. Never been done better than Lord of the Rings. I mean, look, that's a long conversation to have. I don't put much of that at Cameron's feet, but the fact is, Cameron and Spielberg, a lot of people of that, that 70s, 80s, 90s kind of codified a lot of the ways that a big event movie is supposed to behave. And, Peter Jackson takes those and runs with those in Lord of the Rings, kind of creates a new version. I mean, I would say if there's a direct thing to compare it to, it's Star Wars, that it just culturally, size-wise and just in the world building of it all. That's the directest one, but it's everything. It's everything from the 25 years preceding it that kind of leads to Lord of the Rings, essentially. And we haven't had anything to compare it to since. I kind of wanted to I wanted to craft my thesis there, being that it's a Cameron-esque like adventure story
transplanted from a near future setting to a medieval fantasy setting, but it has a lot of the same stuff. The Fellowship of the Ring is sort of a military unit of mismatched personalities, the way that the Aliens guys are, if you really squint. And there's a little bit of Warrior Woman stuff in there with Eowyn, and there's some sappy romance. But I think ultimately, Cameron's a very American filmmaker, and the source material here is so British that if there
Jackson
is
any
so
Cameron New Zealandy,
that any Cameron influence is sort of several rows back.
Well, I mean, I think the number one thing that is true of Cameron movies and Lord of the Rings is the earnestness. That's the secret in both cases. That's front and center. Like, he believes in every character in those movies, top to bottom.
Right.
Fully commits to the Sam and Frodo relationship. Not scared of making them look gay. It doesn't matter, like, it's just gonna do the characters and what they are, and it loves them, and that's why everyone else loves them.
See, and I don't know if that is something that Cameron would be able to do, like the Sam Frodo relationship specifically.
Maybe not that, but no, he would do.
He's a romantic
new version of
He's very hetero in his approach to the sappiness.
Well, I don't even think that's. I mean, so are Sam and Frodo, really. Like it is about brothers in arms during World War I. It's.
Right, but again, that's because it's so British that it sort of sidesteps, and not just, I guess, British, but pre-war. Cameron's a creature of America and of the late 20th century, of the post-war era,
for sure.
And so that's something different. Okay, so that doesn't quite. That's a bit of a square peg for this.
There is a thing, though. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that I do think Cameron never got to make his Spider-Man movie, but I do think modern superhero cinema does owe something to, if only because it's, a mutation of blockbuster action cinema.
Right.
It owes something to him. And so if I'm looking at like the Marvel movies, and I think you can compare, like, Iron Man sort of brings the military fetishism with the sci-fi weaponry.
Right. Yes.
And then Sam Raimi's Spider-Man kind of brings the sappy romance,
the earnestness
angle to it. Yeah. And corporate villainy, I suppose.
Totally.
But yeah, not being afraid. Like, that's the thing about Cameron. He's not afraid to go cornball when it comes to the romance.
Demands it. Yeah. The superhero movement is actually, it seems a little bit divorced from the Cameron thing, though. Like, you can't really say, like, there's a lot of James Cameron in the MCU or any of them, really. I mean, there's so much other stuff at play. I don't really think of those as coming from him in any way, beyond just the ways that so many movies come from Aliens. You might see an individual sequence that feels like Aliens in, whatever Guardians of the Galaxy you're watching, but that's just because, James Gunn's an omnivore of film, and it's just baked into us culturally.
Another thing, though, or maybe an element of it that sort of loosely connected them in my mind, is that so much of genre action stuff right now, adventure stuff, and it's kind of true of current day MCU, and definitely like Star Wars and stuff, is built around your big badass warrior escorting a kid around. And Terminator 2 is the best version of that to this day. So I think
certainly
anything that's Mandalorian flavored or Last of flavored, whatever, it for me, I guess to some people that's Lone Wolf and Club shit. For me, that's Terminator 2 shit. That was my introduction.
Well, it probably goes back to like there's like a medieval play of some kind that is some version of that. Sure. It's just an old ass story. So I think Terminator 2 is everyone's touched on at this point for that thing. And yes, that's certainly a thing. I wanted to watch the new Megan film for this episode, Megan 2.0, which is explicitly doing the Terminator 2 thing, where you've taken the villain from the first movie and reworked the plot so she is now the protagonist who is protecting the kid that she is trying to kill. Right. I heard it sucked, so I never got around to it. Maybe I will for Halloween or something, but probably not. But
that would have been a good one, actually.
That said, let's see. I don't know. I was trying to find a Pedro Pascal thing here, but no, he's not a Terminator. He's always kind of mortal in his protection roles. I guess the Mandalorian.
No, I mean, Last of Us, he's kind of Mandalorian. He's an invulnerable.
Yeah.
He's bulletproof. I guess that does.
Yeah. He's got Beskar armor. If you recall, it's
Yes, I do.
That means he can't be injured in any way.
Yeah. Just a brilliant move for an adventure series to do. But I mean, at the end of Last of Us season 1, he becomes the Terminator.
I guess he does.
Pretty directly.
Yeah, that's true.
I suppose you'd call it a Sarah Connor arc, but then you have to get into as the arc of Terminator 2 that she's becoming the Terminator herself.
Sure.
But in terms of Sarah Connor, I do think I had not given any thought to Furiosa or Fury Road. I mean, I guess because George Miller has established himself sort of independently of Cameron.
That's true. I don't really think George Miller is he's not doing Cameron stuff per se. He's doing George Miller because it's so defined already there. Yeah. But that, obviously that, yeah.
But if we are talking
the best Linda Hamilton kind of character of the last.
Yes. The Cameron heroine as an archetype that he kind of created, then Furiosa is definitely that.
Yeah. The madness and chaos of George Miller stuff of the wasteland that is very not Cameron to me. Like that
it is very machine oriented, but you're right. It's
just machines on their last fucking legs,
Yeah,
with like the protective siding stripped off, and it's the thing is on its way out. It's getting a lot of desert sand in there. It's fucked up. It's there's a lake of gasoline that you're gonna fall in. There's nothing clean about it.
That stuff you would never have machines that rickety make it to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah,
and that's where his heart is at. I mean, I guess that's the main aesthetic difference is that Mad Max movies are the driest action movies you can get. And Cameron movies are the wettest.
There were the immediate follow-ups to The Abyss that were greenlit, like when The Abyss was announced. So we got a spate of undersea horror movies. Deep Star 6, Leviathan, Lords of the Deep. There were a lot of those for a short window. And then The Abyss bombed and they stopped. Those are direct Cameron ripoffs. None of them are any good. People will tell you they are. They're not.
Some people have affection for Deep Rising.
That's what I was about to say. Deep Rising is fun. That one is a pretty solid James Cameron water horror movie, I guess you would say. And it has Space Marine type guys in it. It's got evil corporate guys. It's got a lot of the aspects.
That one. Okay, that's our closing thought because it bridges us to the next one. Where next up on our list is John Carpenter, and maybe it's just the closing shot of Deep Rising, but I almost feel like that puts it in a Carpenter riff territory. I
think that movie is equally Carpenter and Cameron, actually.
There you go.
Very underrated.
Maybe that's what we should watch first.
Very underrated movie. Yeah, maybe you should watch Deep Rising again. Not a problem. Before we end up here, I know we're winding down here. I did want to mention the fallout of Avatar. Because I watched a movie for this, which is changes in distribution, and in 2009, Avatar becomes the most successful film of all time. It was another thing. Everyone thought it would bomb again, and it was all about how you saw it. It was all about seeing it in 3D. The biggest screen possible is an experience going to the theater, and you're not really seeing Avatar if you watch it at home. And that did change everything for a while in Hollywood. To this day, maybe. Alice in Wonderland came out 3 months later. It is the most successful film of Tim Burton's career. And it's a piece of shit, but it was just because it was marketed as 3D like Avatar. It's an experience to watch. And it made $300 million in the U.S. Then we got a spate of shit like the Clash of the Titan movies, and there was a lot of 3D post-conversion films getting made, and they all looked bad. And Cameron was publicly saying, "This is bad. You're ruining the thing," to a lot of press, because it wasn't being special anymore. It was just they're lowering it to the simplest shitty version of it so they could charge more for a ticket. And that ultimately did kind of kill off the 3D thing. But we did get a spate of auteurs using 3D. We got Alfonso Cuarón makes Gravity, a film that you need to experience in a certain way for it to have maximum effect. Ang Lee makes Life of Pi.
Now, I will say, Gravity in the theater had that effect. It was super effective. I have never bothered watching it on HBO, but yeah.
Well, I watched Martin Scorsese's Hugo for this, which is a 3D movie he made. A children's fucking... Scorsese made a children's movie about a little boy who lives in a train station. And in like sort of this incredibly weird... glorious kind of 3D. It's one of the most beautiful films he's made in a way. In another way, it looks like a Robert Zemeckis movie. And so there was a moment when we were getting auteurs trying to screw around with technology and 3D in a way that was just out of character. To find an audience, maybe, to get their films made, to experiment. I mean, Scorsese goes on to do The Irishman, similar vein. But, this was him trying to do something to compete with Avatar. I don't think it's a very good movie. I think that removed, and this is my question in revisiting it, does this still work if you're not seeing it in a theater? And I don't think it does.
Yeah, I mean, but the second Avatar movie, I was like, this doesn't work for me in the theater. But obviously, I'm the outlier there. As you put it down, like I praised Gravity as being the one that worked. But if
I'm scared to revisit Gravity at home.
Yeah, no, I don't think you need to really. And if we're blaming The Irishman on it, that The Irishman's not the worst movie ever. But I think that technological stuff is its Achilles heel. It's just constantly pressing in from the sides, trying to ruin every scene for me. And the Hobbit movies would not be good movies without the high frame rate nonsense. But with it, it looked like just absolute asshole to me. Like that, I only saw the first one in the theater and that high frame rate stuff, and it was a horrendous experience. I hated that.
Well, this sort of technical experimentation, and maybe you can even do, say, Zemeckis for this as well. I think he was doing mocap shit before. But,
exactly. I think he was on his own kick before without Avatar.
But I think Cameron, like it or not, did change things dramatically by turning all these auteurs into technical experimentations, their movies anyway. And yeah, the high frame rate being a fine example of that. Ang Lee did that one too with the Gemini Man. And I think theatrical distribution has changed as well. We're getting crazy ways of going to movies. Like IMAX is the thing that I think everyone agrees works, Nolan attached very hard to that. Everyone likes an IMAX screen. That's a good way to experience a movie. You can really get something out of that. It's so cool when I get to go see something. I live in New York. I get to go see something like Beau is Afraid in the big IMAX screen on 72nd Street, and it's just like this is really something. That's a lot of fun. Or your run of the mill MCU, or even that gets a bit of a plus up from
boost. Yeah.
But then there's also the shit like 4DX, or you're on it's basically a theme park ride for the entire length of the film. Or Screen X, which I tried to describe to you the other day, where they expand the frame of the movie onto the four walls around the screen. So the entire building inside is sort of a wash of AI generated background. It's the worst shit I've ever seen.
That sounds like a prison.
So Ridley Scott's Napoleon would put you presented in that, and it was ridiculous. Terrible way to watch a movie. And it seems like they're going to keep fucking around with that, to try to make it worth going to the theaters anymore. And I think all this comes from Avatar, man. All of it.
Yeah.
Another thing to not like Avatar about, maybe.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not here to say, oh, technology is bad and people should stop trying to improve movie effects. But what you just laid out there, all the examples you cited, I'm like, okay, maybe technology is bad. We should stop trying to innovate. No, I mean, obviously there's good innovations, but maybe
it'll be cool to see the Odyssey.
Make a good movie and put it on a screen, and people will get excited about it and talk to each other, and they won't want to. They'll go to it because they want to know what people are talking about.
Yeah.
It's a little harder to nail down exactly what that means compared to installing a garden mister in front of the row of seats to spray water at me during Avatar. You know what the project is to get the hose installed there, but I don't know. Try making some good movies. Cameron's always pretty focused on these. trying to make a good story and a good movie at all times.
Well, we'll see how that works very near future with Avatar Fire and Ash coming to theaters in 3D, probably high frame rate as well, definitely 4DX, anything you'd like to throw at it. Coming this December.
Yeah, every single thing. I mean, that's probably what they made that four-wall AI extension crap for.
Maybe time to revisit that.
Pandora can be everywhere.
All right. Well, John Carpenter's next when we get back around to these, and we're pouring into spooky season here in October, so I'm going to check out a lot of horror films inspired by John Carpenter in the near future.
All right.
All right. Thank you for listening, everybody.